This podcast is your class notes on section 3.7, which is density. So these should be recorded in the class notes side of your reading notes class notes chart. There are going to be a few practice problems you do, so you might need a calculator. Okay, so what is density? Now, your book defined it as this here. Mass per volume, or mass per unit volume. What that means is it's the amount of matter, or the mass, in a certain amount of space. So it's how much mass you have in each certain amount of volume, or mass per unit volume. Now this word, per, is something that we haven't used before. So before we talk about density, I want to talk about per and what per means. So the word per here means that you divide the quantity before by the quantity after the word. So for instance, miles per hour means miles divided by hours. Miles per hour. So whatever word comes before the per gets divided by the word that comes after the per. So we're going to do some practice problems. First off, please write these as fractions. So cents per inch, like imagine you were buying something and you paid a certain amount of money for a certain number of inches, so how many cents per inch did you pay? Or let's imagine I was giving out lollipops. How many did each student get? That would be lollipops per student. I'd also like you to write these in words using per, miles divided by gallons, and meters divided by seconds. So at this point, please pause the podcast and do these problems in your notebook. Make sure you write down what the question was so when you look back, you know what it was you were doing. Once you've got the answers, press play again to check your work. Okay, are you ready? Cents per inch. To get that, I would do cents divided by inches. Lollipops per student. Lollipops divided by students. All right, miles divided by gallons. That's miles per gallon. Meters divided by seconds. Meters per second. Okay, do you have the hang on what per means? If so, go on to the next practice problems where you're going to have to do some math. First problem. 6th grade goes on a field trip. Lucky them. There are 400 students and 10 school buses. How many students per bus? Go ahead and get the answer. Press pause, figure it out, then press play when you're ready to check your work. Ready? Okay, students per bus. So I need to do students divided by buses is 400 students divided by 10 buses equals 40 students per bus. The next one's harder. Mr. Clark's room has 12 tables in it. He has the big lab tables rather than the little desks like us. his smallest class has 10 students. So for that, if you were in that class, how many students per table? And how many tables per student? Then do the same calculations for his largest class, which has 22 students. How many students per table? How many tables per student? Pause and get the answers, then press play when you're ready to check your work. Ready? Okay. How many students per table? I need to do students divided by tables, which in this case is 10 students divided by 12 tables. Let's do the math. 10 divided by 12 is 0.83 students per table. How many tables per student? I need to do the opposite. Tables divided by students. So then in that case, it would be 12 tables divided by 10 students. Let's do the math. 12 divided by 10 is 1.2 tables per student. What does that mean if you're in Mr. Clark's smallest class? It means that on average, there's less than one student per table. So each person can have their own with a few empty tables left over. All right, what if you're in his biggest class? How many students per table? That's going to be 22 students divided by 12 tables. Let's do the math. 22 divided by 12, 1.83 students per table. How many tables per student? 12 tables divided by 22 students. Let's do the math. 0.55 tables per student. What does that mean? If you're in Mr. Clark's largest class, you have a little more than half of a table to yourself. So that means most students are going to be sharing a table, and a couple lucky ones will have their own. Okay, now that we've done some problems with what per means, now let's get back to density. Our density formula is mass per volume. Take a minute now to write what that means as a fraction. That's right, it's mass divided by volume is density. When we abbreviate, mass is capital M, volume is capital V, and density is capital D. I'm going to show you a really cute way to remember this formula, just in case you forget. All right. I heart density, but density broke my heart. Look how cute this is. Mass over volume. So if you ever forget what the formula is, you can use that to figure it out. All right, let's quickly do a couple practice problems. First one, mass is 5, volume is 8. What's the density? Pause, do it, then check your work. Ready? Okay, 5 grams over 8 centimeters cubed equals, let's do the math, 5 divided by 8, 0.625 grams per centimeter cubed. Okay, next one. Here we have the length, width, and height, which you need to use to get the volume. Volume is going to be length times width times height, which equals 180 centimeters cubed. Our mass is 150 grams, so I'm going to do mass divided by volume to get the density. Let's do the math. 150 divided by 180 is 0.833 grams per centimeter cubed. Okay, that's it. Have a good day.